Hello, welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry.
And I'm Eric Perry.
We're sitting in our backyard right now, and we wanted to record some of our key takeaways from the Remarkable You conference that we attended with one of the authors that we followed for a long time, Jon Acuff. And inside of our Arise membership, people were asking us, hey, can you take notes and share them with us? And so I just recorded like a full download of all my notes and put that in the Arise membership. But I thought, you know what, it'd be fun to get together with Eric and just take a few of the highlights and share them with everyone. Number one, so that you can feel some of the excitement and energy that we felt while we were there at the conference. And also help you know if maybe you want to work a little bit deeper with me and Eric here at Learn, Do, Become inside Arise.
It was an amazing conference. We're excited to share some of the things that we learned. Hopefully they're helpful to you. And we're not committing to this right now, but if there's a conference next year, we were kind of thinking, okay, if there's any risers who want to go to that conference, maybe we could do like a little meetup after at some point. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks up to be. But I wanted to share some concepts that really stood out to us from this Remarkable You conference with Jon Acuff.
And one of the best parts of being there is that not only did we meet new people and have lots of fun, but we did meet several members of the Learn, Do, Become community.
It was awesome.
And got to actually give hugs and just be able to connect on a very personal level, which was so great. Okay, so at first, Remarkable You might be thinking, well, what does remarkable mean? What are we doing? Jon's definition for remarkable is that your actions match your intentions. And I think that's really what all of us are looking for here at Learn, Do, Become, is we have intentions, goals, dreams, ideas, things that we want in our lives. And sometimes we feel like we end up just in the same loop, never quite getting where we want to become, where we want to be. So
yeah, some people say, are we going to live like 75 or 80 years? We're going to live the same year 75 or 80 times. So yeah, learning how to like stretch and reach, putting our actions to actually make those intentions happen, those dreams and those hopes.
We were laughing a little bit, though, because we noted that if our intention is to just sit and watch TV all day, and then we do that,
I'm killing it. I'm killing it then.
But we're assuming that this applies to people who are already setting goals, just seeking for a life that feels exciting, where you do wake up excited and go to bed content.
Yeah. And I'll just share a few of he actually gave 8 reasons why we don't choose remarkable or to go after that. And I'll just share a few, but one is we don't know that it exists. Another one was, we don't know that it's a choice. Another one was, somebody told us we weren't remarkable. And then another one, last one I'll share, is that remarkable feels too complicated. So we had 4 others. I won't share all of his stuff here, but actually those got me really thinking, right? We don't know it exists. It's a choice. Someone told us we weren't, or it feels too complicated. And what he did in that day and a half conference is just really walk through a few ways that we can really bridge that gap between our current actions and fulfilling those intentions. And there was a t-shirt, there was a bit of merchandise they had at the back, and there was this one t-shirt, it was white print on black, and it said, some beats none. And like I went back about midway through the first day, and they were sold out. I'm like, holy cow, because I just love that concept, right? Doing something, putting some effort in, trying something is better than nothing. And it doesn't mean it'll be perfect, it won't be, but literally putting some effort, having some goal, something you're working toward is better than just staying in the status quo and doing nothing.
And I know that's hard to hear for those of us who struggle with perfectionism because we're thinking, if I can't do it beautifully, right, perfect, any of those adjectives, then I just shouldn't do it at all. But actually, I think this is one of the main things that has helped us as we've grown a family, as we've built our marriage, as we've learned to become, is that we're okay with just taking some action that's totally imperfect and then building on that. And yeah. I mean, a lot of what we've tried has not looked pretty. A lot of our efforts haven't been awesome, but
the good things that have succeeded have come out of a lot of efforts tried, and some failed or some learned from.
Yeah.
And you keep going, right? You keep swimming.
Yeah. A for effort, right?
I think E is for effort.
Okay. Another just concept is that procrastination costs you your life. And I know that here at Learn, Do, Become, we have a lot of community members who say, I struggle with procrastination. I know I want to do things and I just don't do them. I get distracted. I end up online. I end up with my family. I just can't seem to get myself and force myself to go do something. Now, number one, we really teach here that it's about breaking it down into very, very simple microbursts that you can do in 10 minutes or less. So you don't feel like you're going to go do something amazing and huge right in that one moment. But also, it's changing our perspective on procrastination and understanding what the cost is. And, he shared an experience where there was someone who had, been putting off doing some business calls. And then when they finally did it, it generated amazing revenue for them. It's like, okay, if they had never done it, then that would have.
And the calls weren't fun, and the calls took some time consistently, day after day after day. But over a month, all those calls were made, and the results came from that.
Well, we're working with one of our children right now who's actually, we're working with all of our children, but we have one child we just recently had a conversation with who is making a lot of big decisions right now. And we're like, okay, we're not going to have the TV on. We're going to give you an environment where you can make progress, however that looks to you. I just don't want you to sit and procrastinate, because I know it's tempting to sit and procrastinate, but it's worth it to put those little efforts in.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts I'll share on procrastination that Jon shared. One is he actually reframed the definition of remarkable to actually fit procrastination. So remarkable is when our actions match our intentions. He said procrastination is when your actions don't match your intentions. Mm-hmm. So are you really doing what you intend to do? And he gave, 5 common reasons why most people procrastinate. This is actually off of a survey of about 100,000 people that he did. And the 5 most common reasons are: task feels complicated, time feels insufficient, history, I've failed before, fear, again, fear of the unknown or fear of past failure, and ego, things about us that stop us from doing what we want to do. And there was just one other thought he brought up. He just talked about all the alternatives to doing a little bit of work, a little effort to accomplish the goal we want. And he said that, there are things like that, like social media or being on your phone or watching streaming services or sleep, right? Just using these things in place of going after the thing that matters most. And he just made the comment, he said, procrastination is the most well-funded fear in modern history. And he actually quoted a statement made by Reed Hastings, then CEO of Netflix. And he said, our competition is sleep. So literally the competition Netflix or other streaming services competing against is not any of their activity. It's we want to keep you so busy during the day, but also if we can borrow into some of your sleep hours, we will just fund our way into you spending time on social media platforms, on streaming services. And so I just think we have to be really cognizant and self-aware and step back and say, okay, where is my time each day going? Because a lot of times at Learn to Become, we'll hear something like, oh, I know what you have to offer is really helpful, or something that I want to do is really beneficial. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
And if you were to do a time inventory of how each hour is being spent in a 24-hour day or a 168-hour week, just keeping track hour by hour and just categorizing, how did I use that hour? I think each of us, all of us, would see some very interesting patterns or trends or opportunities develop.
Okay, the next part is about how joy is the best alarm clock. And
that was one of my favorite takeaways from the whole conference. It's like, you don't need an alarm clock. If you want to do something, like your joy, your enthusiasm, your excitement will actually get you to bed a little earlier than usual. And you'll be excited to get out of your bed and get started on the day to work on that thing. Joy is the best alarm clock.
I've actually been applying that since we got back and thinking about what I'm excited about the next day and trying to focus more on that energy and the fire and the drive. And it's been so good. I've actually been waking up before my alarm clock.
That's a good thing. That means you're excited about your day, excited about life.
And then he also said, we don't lack information, we lack fire. And that really resonated with me because I want to have fire and passion. And it's just, I feel like in the world, we get really tired. We go to our jobs, we take care of family, we, clean the kitchen, mow the lawn, whatever the things that we need to do to maintain life and sustain life. But it's very rare to meet someone who feels like they have fire and that can be consistently maintained. And so that's just, as I've been visualizing, what I want for my future and who I want to be, that's a big component is I want to have fire and I want to feel it and be excited about it and, have the courage to act on it and to create.
Absolutely. And just to kind of step back, to give a framework to the whole conference, he actually broke remarkable and becoming remarkable down into 4 core areas. Dreaming, what do I want to do? Planning, how will I do it? Doing, how am I doing it? And reviewing, did it work, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this iterative cycle of dream, plan, do, review. So a lot of what we've talked about at this point is just kind of an overview and some of the dreaming, kind of figuring out what this is. And I think, planning now becomes an important aspect we'll cover a few principles from. So one of them was, I think both of us wrote this down. I don't give gold time to bronze activities. And so as you're making your daily or your weekly plan, recognizing there's a lot of good things out there. Those are maybe all the bronzes and even silvers. But what are the gold activities? Like, what is gold time that you can give to gold activities to really be moving yourself forward in the directions that you want?
And one of the things I appreciated about the conversation we had there at the conference was that if you maybe have your gold activities as things that feel productive to you, you're writing or you're working on a project or you're doing, some redesign of your house or whatever, that's great. But he said that when an opportunity comes up to spend one-on-one quality time, like with one of his daughters or with a person that you don't often get the chance to see, that is a gold experience. Yeah. And not to just push that aside. And that's one of the reasons why we even went to this conference, because I've just gotten tired over the years of going to conferences that were all about external success, productivity, money, like how to have all these external indicators that you're successful. Because what I really want is to have a strong marriage, and I want to have strong relationships with my children and grandchildren. Like I want to be able to feel connected to the people around me and not just feel like I'm really, really busy. And just one little quick side note. I just had a birthday recently, and every time I have a birthday, I kind of look and see what kind of messages I get from people in my life. Like, what do they say about me? And years ago, when I was really disconnected from like everyone in my life, and I was just, I don't know, we were just head down working on a bunch of stuff, like pretty much no one remembered my birthday because I wasn't remembering theirs, and there was just like not a lot of connection. And then there was one year where I got a few texts, and they were all things like, "You're really good at accomplishing things." And I was like, "Oh, that's a nice compliment, but I don't want to be known for being good at just accomplishing things. Like, I want
good job
people to know I love them." Anyway, this recent birthday, and not that anyone who's like texted me for their birthday is like, "Whoa, I better be careful."
Thanks, all past birthday texters.
No, but this year, I was actually really happy because the messages were more like, "Thanks for being a good listener," or "Thanks for being a good friend."
You're amazing.
And I'm not saying that like build myself up. I'm just saying I kind of watch because I just don't want to be the kind of person who's just really good at checking off tasks. And
I think we want to be remembered. We want to be remembered well for being a kind, loving, helpful, good person. So another concept, going along with the idea of like giving our gold time to gold activities, he used this phrase that said, planning is a multiplying force. And I just love this idea. I've always loved the idea of multiplication or increase, right? Being increased or multiplied. He gave the analogy of like, could you use 1 hour to improve the remaining 67? And almost an analogy of like, if you could get $167 return on a $1 investment, would you do that? And I think all of us would. And I've actually long kind of believed in and tried to teach or share the idea of setting aside at least 1 hour a week to plan out the week ahead. I love the idea of starting on a Sunday morning early before the whole world gets up and gets moving, because to me, it's the beginning of the week. If you look at a calendar, a lot of times if you'll ask people, what's the first day of the week because of work or school, they'll say, oh, it's Monday. But if you look at Sunday, it's actually a time that's a little bit slower, but it's the first day of the week. And if you get up on a Sunday morning, sometime early, and are thoughtful, intentional, maybe even prayerful if you're spiritual or religious, but let that hour be something where you think about the week ahead, the goals, the dreams, the plans you want to make, and let that stillness, that peace, some inspiration hit and work on planning. It is an incredible way to let that week be multiplied. And I think we can apply that in a lot of other areas in our lives. I'll just leave that there. But I just love this idea that planning is a multiplying force. And one other concept just around planning is like, as you're thinking about who you want to be and what you want to become, rather than framing it negatively, it's just asking the question to help you decide what actions and what efforts should be undertaken. Asking yourself the question, what would a blank do, right? What would a great writer do? What would a good friend or a helpful parent do? And allow that question to allow your brain to solve and give answers to that question, those questions, to help guide you in how you might use and structure your time to get those results, to have that outcome of being that kind of person or thing.
I actually applied that yesterday because I was recording my notes takeaway for the Arisers, and I had it all set up, and I had a great time. I was just chatting away for like an hour. It was this like really like in-depth, thorough analysis of my notes. And then I got to the end and saw that it had recorded in like 10-second loops. So it didn't actually record. So I was just sitting up there talking to myself for like the full hour. So at first I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm like tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't have time tomorrow. Anyway, I was just feeling kind of frustrated. But then I stopped. I thought, wait, what am I even talking about? I've learned how to deal with this. So instead, I just thought like, well, what would a remarkable person do?
What would a great audio recording recorder do?
Yeah. But I just thought, no, I don't need to like let this get me down. And I just thought, you know what? That was a good practice session. I'm going to do it again, but I bet people don't even want to listen to me for a full hour. I was kind of rambling. I'm going to be more concise. I'm going to, apply what I've learned in the past hour, and I'm going to do it even better. So now I think it's 23 minutes or something, but I think it's even better. It's like an edited version. And so anyway, that's available if you want to try out a Rise or come on in. But it was so freeing to me to think, yeah, I don't have to let this get me down.
Yeah.
It's okay. All right. Next, he spoke about how reviewing turns experience into education. So you can run further and faster. And
I think that's actually what you just said. It's interesting, right? Mm-hmm. Reviewing what you just did, even though it didn't record, you learned something from it. And so you actually became better equipped to do that thing faster.
And he was kind of applying it to like weekly reviews or life reviews and things like that. But yeah, just taking the time to reflect and look back. And this is something that I'm personally trying to do more, not just do my weekly planning and plan for the week ahead or my daily planning or whatever, but really looking at the day before and saying, what made yesterday really happy? What were those moments that really meant the most to me? Where did I waste my time? Like I've learned there are certain things for me at night that just don't make sense to do. Like watching a whole long movie that starts after 8 o'clock or whatever.
Or running a marathon.
Right. Running
at that time of night.
But I'm learning things that I might do that make me spin in circles or, go down rabbit holes or whatever. So just that concept of reviewing. But then he added that when reviewing, you need permission to be your biggest fan. And a lot of the conference was around our self-talk. He has a book called Soundtracks, and they even sent out some like list of soundtracks to us before we got there. But what are the phrases, the words, the ideas in your mind that keep you positive and moving and remind you what's true? And I love that concept of being our biggest fan and not just our biggest.
Because that's not what our society teaches us or most of us. Like we feel like we should be hard on ourselves. We should be a critic, not a fan. Mm-hmm. And the soundtracks we typically play are more negative or like kind of like hard on ourselves as opposed to, positive, optimistic, hopeful. Like, what am I excited about? What am I capable of? And motivating ourselves that way. And he had another comment or a principle I really liked. He said, you don't feel motivated. None of us feels motivation. You practice motivation. And I love that. It's this idea of letting our hearts and our minds just say, okay, let's do this thing. It's been said a number of ways, but there's a phrase out there that we act our way into a feeling, right? You don't feel your way into an action. You more often than not act your way into a feeling, an activity, or a result. And so allowing our actions just motivate ourselves, practice motivation, so that our actions step us into that result, the activity, the feelings that are during it or after it that come as a result.
My friend and I were having a conversation the other day, and she said, I don't want to change my thoughts and just have a bunch of fluffy, happy thoughts, because then I'm not going to be motivated to make change. Yeah. Like I have things I need to change, and those fluffy thoughts are not going to help me. Like, okay, that is a good point, because that's something that I went through a lot throughout our marriage, and especially through the last, 8-10 years, where I felt like if I'm not anxious, it means I don't care about my family and I'm going to let everyone down. But as I've done like cognitive behavioral therapy, and as Eric and I have had a lot of discussions, now I don't believe that. Now I believe if I can feel peaceful and calm and I can make deliberate decisions, then I can improve my life every day. And I can, be aware of where I'm maybe not showing up for someone or something that I could improve, or a relationship I can make better or whatever. Yeah. But I can do it without beating myself up. And I love the idea that we can improve by being our biggest fan.
Yeah.
That's freeing to me.
Well, just this idea of being your fan, motivating yourself, or practicing that motivation. Like for me, if it's something around like fitness or exercise, I find like laying it into my plan well before, that Sunday morning or the night before, making the plan. But like, I don't think anyone loves to like really push themselves hard physically all the time. Like I'm sure everyone needs a break, but like the nights before when I say this is what I'm doing, and if I lay out my stuff or if I'm just ready to do it, and then when it's time to get up or time to do the workout or the run, just saying, okay, let's do it, just do it. Because I don't think the feeling comes and you can act your way into that. Like, okay, you're out there, the endorphins are going, the adrenaline's going, you're getting the energy that kind of comes, and you're always excited and happy when it's done, when you've accomplished the thing. Sometimes it's harder to motivate ourselves, so just practice that motivation. Another one might be like a difficult conversation or trying to strengthen a relationship, just making a phone call or sending that text. It's just like, we kind of put it off. But again, just deciding to practice motivation, write the text, make the phone call, and do it to the best of your ability. It may not go perfectly, but then the result that typically, what happens and the result that comes from it, more often than not, is something we're very grateful for, and it's favorable.
Love that. And then just one of the final principles we're going to share here is to never forget the days of humble beginnings and the blessings of adversity. And so he has a fun before and after photo of one meetup that he'd planned, and he thought 1,000 people were going to come.
Well, this is just when he was getting his start, right? He was starting to become a professional speaker, and he kind of found a way to tag on to a conference there. And he talked to the organizer, who's a friend. And there were probably 5,000 to 6,000 people at this conference. And as a side break-off room, he had kind of this gathering place where he thought he'd probably get at least a few hundred people. And he had his wife buy some snacks and stuff, a few things, like double what she thought they would need. It's like, no, it's got to be this many, right? And he has a photo of him there. I think 1 or 2 people came. And it's literally a photo of him and maybe one other person in this room set up for a couple hundred at least. And he's like, that was pretty discouraging and pretty hard. And then later on, a few years later, as his kind of efforts had progressed and his accomplishments had kind of mounted, he was able to actually be invited to speak at the same conference. But he spoke
8,000 people.
He spoke at the same conference, but at that year there were 8,000 people, and he was actually speaking from the main stage. And he just said, never determine who you are, what you're worth, what you're able to accomplish from your initial efforts, right? These before photos, these humble beginnings, you just persist, motivate, kind of move yourself forward along these 4 lines of dream, plan, do, review, and just keep after it. Let your actions match your intentions, because you can't see today what your after picture is going to look like. And it was kind of cool because on the screen he puts these 2 photos side by side, him sitting a little dejected, alone in a room full of hundreds of chairs, and then him speaking out to an audience of about 8,000 people. And it's just an amazing thing to see the contrast that we can generate by that consistent effort and by believing in ourselves.
Well, and I think my favorite part of that story is that when he took the before picture, he knew it was the before picture.
He told himself, this is my before picture.
Right. So he went and sat down and had someone take a picture like, okay, this is the before. And I thought, oh, what a healthy way to do that, because we've had so many things. We had some college students who were over visiting us. We worked with them in our church for, a few years ago. Anyway, they came over and we were doing a little game night and hanging out the other night. And they were just talking about life lessons, what you learned, and sharing their insights. We were having these great conversations, and I said, "Did you guys know about the business we had that totally failed?" And they're like, "Wait, what? You had a business that didn't take off?" And so we told them our story, and we were talking about it and telling them how at 3 a.m. we would both be awake, and we're just holding hands, thinking what are we going to do? How are we going to support our kids? How are we going to move forward? We were just going through these really low times, and they had no idea. I mean, they've seen us now with our children and our community and feeling like we have the things that we need, but they didn't know that we'd had some really, really low times. And I just think it's helpful not only to talk about and share and make sure people know that things just don't always turn out rosy for anyone. Everyone's got something that's hard.
Yeah, so if you're sitting there with something in your life, a situation, an opportunity, a relationship that's kind of not at all where you want it to be, but you have high hopes for it, you have aspirations for it, figure out some way to record it, take a snapshot picture of it somehow, memorialize it, realizing that, it's not where you want it to be, but with effort, with intentionality, plan on taking that after memorialization, a photo, a write-up, or whatever it is, because that becomes powerful motivation to realize anything truly is possible with consistent effort, properly applied. And so, yeah, I mean, let your before picture stand now, and then let's be working together toward our afters.
And now my brain is flooding with all these images because it's not just something like business. I think like when Eric and I first got married, we didn't really know how to communicate with each other the way that each person needed to hear it. You know, Eric would speak one way, the way that he would talk to his friends. I would speak the other way, the way I talked to like my sisters.
Like a mean person and like a nice person, apparently.
Well, like we just didn't know how to communicate super well. And I think we've gotten a lot better at it now. Like now I feel like.
And we're still working on it.
But I feel like that's one of our strengths.
Right.
Like we communicate a lot. Like that's helpful.
We probably communicate
even like
too much.
Children, when I first had Aaliyah, I was just bawling. I'm sitting there. I didn't even know how to swallow her right. I was like, what on earth? What am I going to do? And, you know, it totally changed. We learn, we grow. So learn, do, become. It's kind of amazing how it all works together. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with us. We hope that this has been helpful and maybe just turn on some ideas in your own mind of things that might move you in the direction that feels really exciting for you. And if you want to join us in our Arise membership, we love being with our Arisers. It's a highlight of the month where we do a live workshop, but most people can attend live. So we have replays that are available. We've got engagement. In our Facebook group this month, there has been so many success stories being shared, people taking action. If you want motivation, accountability, encouragement, and just being around people who want the same kinds of things that you do, we'd love to have you there.
And this is not a promotion or a pitch for Arise. This is just a loving invitation. Like it is an incredible community full of amazing people. Yeah. And if you're listening to this right now and you're like wanting to have a community there that's there to support you and cheer you on, encourage you to focus on different meaningful things each month and help us grow collectively, we would love to have you join us. So take a look at it. There's some great opportunities of ways to come in and just try it out. And I'm never ever sure where these are posted, these audios, wherever they're going to be. But if there's a way to kind of comment somewhere below,
yes, you can. Then
comment below and maybe just share with us something that you, either an insight you had from the things we were sharing or something that you came to on your own. I love being able to source new ideas and perspectives from everybody in our Learn, Do, Become community. And so if there's an insight, a perspective, a life experience you've had, some word of advice or encouragement or whatever it may be, just chip it in here, because I think one of the most powerful things about Learn to Become is there's just an ongoing conversation on so many different fronts on meaningful topics and ways that we can grow and become our best selves.
All of our podcasts are at learndobecome.com/radio. You can find all the episodes and you can comment and we'll receive those comments.
Comment away.
And if you want to learn more about Arise, we have a 2-month free trial right now. So if you go to learndobecome.com/arise, you can sign up and come in and be part of this and find out if this is for you.
No risk, no worries. Just come in and have a great experience with us.
Okay, we'll see you soon at Learn, Do, Become.
Have a great day.